So, a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you the viewers to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, there's been quite a bit of drama in the world of trade rumors, and a lot more big matchups have gone down, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Anish, and he says that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in the NBA right now. Shai's rise over the last few seasons has been incredible to watch unfold because every year he's been in the league, he's gotten better and better, and over the last 3 years, he's been consistently producing at an absolutely elite level. He's gone from being a player viewed as a borderline all-star talent, to then becoming an all-NBA talent, to then being in the conversation for the best guard in the league, and now he's firmly supplanting himself in the MVP race, trying to chase down that title of best overall player. And according to the original take here, there are already people ready to give him that crown. But is he worthy of it yet? Let's break it down. Shai's playstyle is incredibly appealing to the average viewer because he's a lead guard in constant attack mode, who at his best can truly be unguardable at times. He masterfully stays under control while maneuvering the defense with an array of fakes, hesitations, and feints that throw defenders off, and he gets to his spots with ease, where he also comfortably rises up for shots over contests and converts efficiently. He's averaging 31 points per game, shooting 53% from the field, and while he could be a better three-point shooter, his 35% shooting from deep is still respectable. He's leading the #1 team in the Western Conference right now, he gets it done on both ends of the floor, and is definitely an MVP candidate right now, but in order to be crowned as the best player in the NBA, you need some hardware to your name, whether it's fair or not, and at the moment, the same thing people always kill Joel Embiid for also still applies to SGA, as Shai and the Thunder have yet to even advance to a conference finals together. The best player in the game has always been someone who can lead deep runs, take home MVP awards, and establish themselves as a proven champion. And while Shai is on his way to possibly achieving all of those things, he has not done them yet, so for me, it's still way too premature to say that he's the best in the world. Guys like Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo are also still at the top of their games, both are multiple-time MVP winners and NBA champions, and for me, they are still the top dogs until further notice. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from James, and he says that Karl-Anthony Towns is playing like a top 5 player in the NBA right now. The complete shift in how Karl-Anthony Towns is viewed around the league lately has been pretty wild to see happen in real time. Towns has been one of the league's best big men for years now, but having spent the first 9 years of his career in Minnesota, he didn't always get the proper respect or recognition for his production there. Realistically, there were of course reasons to feel a bit disappointed with his time on the Timberwolves, but overall, he's been a 4-time All-Star who has always put up big numbers year after year. The issues with Towns, and one of the biggest reasons why he was never able to become quote-unquote the man on a winning team there, was because he's always been a pretty poor defender all things considered, and his limitations on that end made it difficult to build around, with the center position being so vital to defensive success. Now that he's in New York, it's been a non-stop love affair. He's getting so much praise for the numbers that he's putting up, and while of course he does deserve credit for playing as well as he has, it's arguably the biggest example of big market bias we've seen in quite some time, because virtually nothing about Towns is different now than his time in Minnesota. He's just doing it on a team with more eyeballs on them every night. Towns is on track to easily be named an All-Star again this year, but as I mentioned earlier, he's been an All-Star 4 times already. He's also averaging 25 points per game this year, shooting the ball incredibly efficiently and knocking down threes at an incredible rate as well, but But again, none of this is new with Towns. He's had 3 seasons previously where he averaged about 25 points per game or more, including a year where he averaged 27 points a game, and he's also always been one of the best 3-point shooting big men in the league too, so the only people surprised at any of this are people who just weren't previously paying attention. It's also important to point out that while his impact on the Knicks offense has been monumental, the team does perform better on defense without him on the court, and his defensive struggles do still persist. So again, it's a good thing that Cat is getting some long overdue respect, but the original take here is just a clear example of how it's starting to be overdone, because he's never been in the top 5 player range and isn't suddenly up there now because of the fact that he's playing in the big New York sports market. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Sims, and he says that the Heat are going to refuse to trade Jimmy Butler despite his recent trade request. I'm going to ignore the last part of this take because implying that Jonathan Kuminga is in the same tier of talent as Alperen Şengün is a bit asinine, but in general, the Heat are in a pretty difficult position to be in right now. Jimmy Butler, as he has done several times throughout his career, is making a spectacle of how unhappy he is with the current team that he's on, and he clearly wants out. When he was on the Timberwolves, the team tried their hardest as long as they could to make it work with him before they eventually caved and gave into his demands and traded him, and now we're experiencing some deja vu, where the Heat are insisting that they're not going to be shipping him out, but nobody seems to be buying it. Butler's been butting heads with President Pat Riley since the start of the summer, when Riley took a shot at Jimmy after their playoff exit, and when you look at the situation as a whole, the Heat as an organization are the ones with a lot more to lose if they try to play hardball. Holding on to Jimmy Butler and having him coast through the year, going through the motions, does not help anyone. He has a player option for next season that reports are indicating that he would opt out of because of his eagerness to leave Miami, and having him leave for no return in free agency is not ever ideal. Yet at the same time, he's 35 years old and declining a bit individually, so it may be tough to get a substantial offer for him on the trade market. I think ultimately NBA teams looking to go all in do tend to cave as the deadline approaches and fork over reasonable trade offers because they feel the pressure of needing to win a championship, and Butler can still contribute to a team with championship aspirations in the playoffs as one of the league's most consistent playoff risers. The Heat absolutely should look to trade him at this point to put the whole fiasco behind them, because the longer this goes on, the more toxic it's going to get. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.